I mean, what happens when the mayor of a major American city tells her constituents to boycott one of the biggest employers in that city and then asks,
in a move that has been percolating after Seattle's Mayor Katie Wilson joined labor leaders in a protest outside a Starbucks store. The state legislature and city of Seattle approved new business and income taxes, plus the closure of 2 local landmark roasteries, including the tourist draw on Seattle's Capitol Hill.
Foot traffic has dropped 50% on the Hill just in that area alone.
When we look around trying to figure out where would be the right place to go, some key things for us were, is the talent pool local and available? Is there tech talent local and available? And, what was clear to us is Nashville was that place that had all those things. Great access to great talent, great access to a place for people to grow their career and grow their families. And this is a key step forward for us in our Back to Starbucks plan.
Starbucks cannot put on paper that they're closing stores for union busting. That's illegal. So they will find a reason that happens to overlap with union stores.
In response to the allegations that the company is targeting union stores.
So many firsts. First earnings beat in 5 quarters. First quarter of growth on both top and bottom in more than 2 years.
Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth acknowledges the numbers, like the recent report by Wallet Hub placing Washington with the 25th highest tax burden of all 50 states and Tennessee with the 3rd lowest. A factor for Starbucks to follow the trail blazed by Amazon to relocate corporate employees to the Music City years ago.
The promised land, because the math changed. According to Washington Policy Center, Starbucks saves $12,000 per employee per year just by having those jobs in Nashville instead of Seattle. If you have 2,000 employees, that's $24 million a year.
My neck, my back, my paycheck is whack. Always remember, minimum wage can go to 0. And that's what's happened for thousands of Starbucks workers. Some in corporate, some pouring the coffee. But we've got a little turnaround going at Starbucks. And the Seattle Starbucks protesting was super effective. Unfortunately for all those blue-haired baristas with septum piercings, it was effective in increasing corporate profits. It was effective at reducing overhead because stores closed. It was effective in reducing some people's paychecks to 0, which saved them money, increased profits. Weird. It was effective in moving a whole bunch of jobs, couple of thousand jobs, and $100 million investment by Starbucks to Tennessee. Today, we got notice that Starbucks is laying off another 300 U.S. employees, shuttering some regional support offices. Company is, this is part of its turnaround strategy. This is the turn in the turnaround strategy. We've got the back to Starbucks, return to Starbucks, whatever it is. Help return the company to profitable growth. Sales are up. Same store sales are up. The ones that didn't get closed down. We had 5 stores here in Seattle get closed down. 4 of them were, union stores. Weird. So Seattle already has some of the highest minimum wage out there, and Starbucks workers wanted even more, because they're whining about not being able to afford living in Seattle. Kind of like Mayor Katie Wilson, who also couldn't afford to live in Seattle. Her parents subsidized her daycare by giving her a couple of grand a month. I'm sorry, if you're 43 and you're taking a couple of grand a month from your parents, maybe you're living beyond your means. Does that sound familiar? Kind of like Seattle in general. Katie Wilson recently had an interview with her financial whatever. I don't even know what it was. The interviewer asked, do you think that Seattle is, your tax revenue versus your expenses, that you're living well beyond your means, that you can't afford all of these programs? And the financial person basically said, No, it's not that we can't live, within our means. It's that we don't have enough revenue to cover our expenses. And you're like, what? What is wrong with you? What is Oh, yeah, I get it. I get it. Mentally not able to put reality to your day to day, which is you got to have enough tax revenue to run a city. Just like you got to have enough revenue to cover your expenses and create some profit. But you know what? These are socialists and they don't care about that. So that's not a thing for them. Even Christine Gregoire, our former governor, has said, you know what? Spending is way up. Was governor, we had a statewide budget of like 30 billion. Now it's closer to 90 billion. What's going on? You guys can't manage your money. And it's so true. Just the budget just keeps going up and revenue going the other way. It's wild. I was talking with my mom this morning via text. And yesterday I was, Survival World had a bunch of my podcast in one of their articles. I ripped the alderman of Chicago a new you-know-what for saying that Walgreens was closing down stores because of shoplifting and safety issues, people brawling in the store and, sealing it blind. Walgreens closing down that store was corporate abandonment and they should be charged. Survivor World picked that up and they did a big piece and, they had an image of me going like this, something like that. If you look up that article. And my mom was, saying, hey, good job. You're getting the message out there and keep it going and that kind of thing. And I'm like, thanks, Mom. But the reality is that I have to say this stuff at all. I'm basically just calling out the absolute obvious. These are obvious concepts. If you don't have enough revenue coming in to cover expenses, make a profit, closed. That's what happens. But in government, it's called socialism. It's called communism. And we just keep the train rolling. But the reality is that businesses will react. How about Starbucks moving a couple of thousand jobs to Tennessee? What about that reaction? Oh, yeah. And yet our mayor of Seattle, our governor, the dude who put together the millionaire tax, I don't think the millionaires are going to go anywhere. That's overblown. Data shows that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, every single day, a new business leaves the state of Washington. You know what's wild? Seattle is the 4th fastest growing city in the United States. Still got massive population coming in. They haven't got we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I was texting with my son on that, and he goes, yeah, let's follow those numbers for the next year or so, see how it goes. Starbucks on Friday announced another round of corporate layoffs and said it plans to shutter some regional support offices as part of its ongoing turnaround. Cut 300 jobs. Layoffs do not affect coffeehouse employees. My neck, my back, my paycheck, went to zero. Zero. We got $400 million in restructuring charges, $280 million in non-cash charges, $120 million in cash charges tied to the job cuts. They're going through and they're making some massive adjustments in their back to Starbucks strategy. So if you are Workers of the World Unite, if you are the mayor of Seattle, maybe don't go out and say, I'm no longer buying anything from Starbucks. I'm no longer supporting Starbucks and you shouldn't either. Because actions have consequences. And here's where that ends up. Here's the reality. Taking further action under the back to Starbucks strategy, this is the corporate speak, building on our strong business momentum and working to return the company to durable, profitable growth. Leaders have taken a hard look at their respective functions to further sharpen focus. We got out of focus there for a second. Now we're back to it. Laser focus. Prioritize work. Work is now the priority. No more of this silliness. We're back to work, guys and girls. Reduce complexity. Things were getting too complex. We're making them simpler. Simpler is more profitable and lower costs. Lowering costs raises profits. That's good. So the Starbucks protests did work. They were effectively, they were tremendously effective in closing a bunch of stores, Starbucks going to Tennessee, making a $100 million investment there, Howard Schultz leaving, Howard Schultz penning an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. It was a day late, dollar short, because he said, the environment in Washington State and Seattle is hostile towards businesses. Well, that's why they left. Guys always take pot shots at the states or the, political structure after they leave, because in the meantime, you don't want to really rock the boat. You want to get out. It's kind of like having an argument with your ex on the way out. It doesn't really do anything. Just get the F out of there, call them. Nothing can happen, right? Friday's announcement today marks Starbucks' third round of layoffs, 1,100 jobs cut, and not fill several hundred other positions. Company announced 900 job losses for its non-retail workers. This is kind of the history. In February 2025, 1,100 jobs, not fill the positions. And then 7 months later, 900 more jobs. It's a $1 billion restructuring plan. So maybe we don't be out there protesting when you know a restructuring is happening and your job, your store might just closed, gone now, right? Starbucks had 9,000 U.S. non-retail workers, 5,000, okay. So we got a turnaround because budget-conscious consumers are weighing in for their demand for drinks, and they're like, So Starbucks had to shore up their operations. They had to tighten things down, increase that focus, all that corporate nonsense, right? But here's the numbers. The protests worked. They really did. Same-store sales grew by 7.1% because those stores were closed, fueled by a 4.3% increase in transactions. So we got transactions up, sales are up, second straight quarter of traffic growth for Starbucks U.S. cafes. Interesting how that works, right? Simultaneously, as the protests are going on, things are turning around for Starbucks. Things are turning around, signaling the company's comeback plan was working. This is the second quarter of numbers up. You know what the workers of the world unite are going to say? They're doing it all on our backs. Nah, your wages they're not supportive of an income that you pay to a Boeing employee assembly worker line. They're not. They're just not. Those guys you're pouring coffee. Now, if you want to go make some money, go pour coffee in a bikini or less. Bikini baristas, if you're not familiar with that term, I thought everybody had bikini baristas. Some would say, God bless America. So there's a ton of bikini baristas. You drive up and there they are, basically in their birthday suit, and you tip them well. They, oftentimes 20, 30, sometimes $1,000 tip. From regulars, it's a thing. It's a real thing. But in a lot of states, they don't allow that because I don't know. It's weird. But in Washington, we're like, bikini barista, yeah, you betcha. You just pull up and there's a chick that you would have had to go to one of those places back in the 70s where you put quarters in and you watch some, you know what I mean? Before all this stuff online. This quarter marked a milestone for Starbucks and the turn in our turnaround. That's what CEO Nichols said in a video posted alongside the company's fiscal second quarter results. Well, he was brought in to do this turnaround. Guess what? He's making it happen. Nearly 70 Starbucks employees laid off after Seattle store closures. And those stores, were probably not making money. And Seattle has some of the highest already minimum wages for these types of employees in the country. So closing these stores down basically helps the profit line, right? Bottom line. How about this one? Some Starbucks employees are resisting making Seattle to Nashville move, report says. That's weird. I can't imagine why. That's so strange, isn't it? Seattle employees who are like, oh, Tennessee, that's a red state. We can't go there. That's a no-go for us. Meanwhile, Starbucks lays off 61 people at Seattle corporate headquarters. This was May 12th. This is just a few days ago. We're on a roll here. And letting go of Seattle people, that is going to be a real thing because you've got the millionaire tax. You've got a proposed statewide income tax, or not. Yeah, Seattle is proposing a city of Seattle income tax and a city of Seattle capital gains tax because they're having to tax the absolute bejesus out of everything because they don't have enough revenue to cover their hideously overexpanded social services because they never think about cutting things down. Washington State and Seattle got a whole bunch of federal money during the pandemic. They created all these programs. Now all these programs are part of their social fabric. And oh, Lord, we can't take out the basket weaving for the whatever group. No, we can't do that. We need that kind of education here. Meanwhile, we flat can't afford half these things. And there's going to have to be some real cuts made or taxes raised. And we're going to go the taxes raised for sure. I mean, that's a given. There's no way around it, right? Got the absolute classic. Seattle Mayor Starbucks boycott call slammed by local radio host as coffee giant adds Nashville-based roles. You literally can't make this stuff up. We're on the front lines here in Seattle. We're on the players' bench, 50-yard line, watching what happens when you've got elected officials that have zero business running a city with 41 departments, something like, is it 15,000 employees, 11,000 employees, a budget of $8.9 billion, but you've got a socialist in charge who can't cover her own bills, who's never really had a job that provides any background of experience to run a city the size of Seattle. But hey, she said everything's going to become more affordable. So let's hire her. I mean, this is reality. This is reality hitting the road. We are watching it unfold in front of us. Here's the FIFA World Cup. FIFA World Cup for Seattle. Ticket sales, not what they thought they would be. Ticket sales down. Well, if I've covered this one, I said this is going to be a bust, and I think it will. They'll gloss over the numbers. Well, it wasn't what we expected, but numbers are going to be way down. And I started looking into the matches. You've got Iran versus Egypt, and Seattle's going to insist on flying the pride flag. Reality hits the road. Those people aren't going to want to come. Iran executes people for same-sex sex. You know what I mean? Egypt incarcerates people. Hey, you're gay, you're going to prison. They don't execute people in Egypt, but you know, they're not exactly flying the pride flag either. So Seattle just wants to. Well, they're just going to have to deal with how we deal with homosexuality, and you're like, who thought this was a good idea? Egypt versus Iran and Seattle. Was somebody literally just high as a kite? Hey man, let's schedule Egypt versus Iran in Seattle. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be funny? Oh, the irony. And you know what? That's happening. Shocker. People from Tehran are not going to come to Seattle. Aren't we in a war with the United States? And last I checked, Seattle's in the United States. What in the F are we doing? And then we've got Bosnia and the southern half of Bosnia going up against, I don't know, somebody else. I don't really care about soccer or football, as you might call it. I just don't care. It's not one of my things. Doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, and if they want to do it, fine. Funny thing is, 2 summers ago, I spent a couple $100 in diesel, and I captained, as captain of my boat, I captained a crew of a media company out of California that was doing all of the imaging for the ads, for the promotional ads that you'll see on television for the FIFA World Cup, all however many cities it was, a whole bunch. So my boat is going to be on the marketing when they do that in Seattle, and they've got a montage of clips. One of my jet skis is on there with 2 girls on it. And then my boat has a bunch of there's a handful of different clips. So if you see a big boat with a paddleboard run down one of the sides, down the port side, I think it was, that's my boat. And there's a drone flying around, and there were some cool images. We were in Lake Union, and we shot for an afternoon. I don't care about FIFA. It was a fun thing to do. I didn't charge them anything. I pitched in my money. So here I am, just absolutely railing on soccer and the World Cup. And my boat will be in there in the marketing. Every time you turn the World Cup on for Seattle, you might get a glimpse of Sean's boat. So that's kind of fun. But this whole notion of Iran versus Egypt, people ain't coming to that. They're just not. And people are, because of airfare has gone way up, because the cost of gas has gone up, because of the war in Iran, and because Iran is at war with the United States. No, they're not coming here. So ticket sales are way down. Hotel reservations are way down. But we're saying, or the powers that be are saying, well, it's a last minute decision. Well, to make reservations, they better be doing that soon, because the World Cup's coming in less than a month. So yeah, it should be interesting. It should be interesting. By then, this whole Starbucks thing will be pretty much, it'll be gone. And the numbers for the World Cup are way, way down. You get a Super Bowl in town, everything's about 50% up as far as hotel occupancy, restaurants, and all that. They're predicting maybe a 10% bump. And because the World Cup is coming, some people aren't booking hotel reservations for normal vacations here in Seattle, because we're a massive travel destination. Hey, let's go look at the gum wall, and take cruises out of downtown Seattle. Let's go see the new waterfront park. It's epic. It's epic. You just got leadership that is absolutely, you can see by these stories, can't work its way out of a wet paper bag. Well, what that means is we've got podcasts for days, weeks, months, years, decades, possibly beyond. If I'm podcasting this in more than 10 years from now, I don't know what that'll look like. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the state of Seattle? It's got to get better. I don't think it will. I think this is the end game. I think this is what we're doing. Hey, let's see how far we can tank Seattle. See how far we can tank Portland. San Fran's actually on the comeback, but they've got a mayor that is turning things around. Not the other way around. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.